This is Steve Kick, and I'm your host of the MMLA Connect Podcast. And today I have Aaron Waterbury from Essent Guaranty, account manager. Hello, Aaron, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Steve. Appreciate you having me on.
We appreciate all the effort that you've given to the MMLA over the past several years, and it makes sense to get you on here. And we've created a friendship over the years too, so I'm excited to interview you today.
Absolutely.
So obviously this is a mortgage podcast. So let's talk about your career in the mortgage industry, how you got there, where it started. Take us back to the beginning, Aaron.
Yeah. So like anybody, I got my start kind of awkwardly, I would say, into mortgage. So it was probably 15 years ago. I was doing like accounting, like order placing, like that kind of like back office, like just behind a desk computer all day. And we ended up having to move. My wife works in radio and she got her start in Port Huron. So we ended up she got her job over in Port Huron. Options were limited for us. We were like, all right, we got to take this. So we ended up moving up there. I was commuting back and forth to do this job because it was in office. There wasn't remote work or anything like that. So I did that for a little bit and I was like, this is not working. I kind of got to figure something else out here. And we knew a realtor, and the realtor suggested I talk to these guys in Port Huron that do mortgage loans. So I went down in there, sat with those guys, ended up agreeing to take the job, had to go through like all the licensing process and stuff, which that felt like it took forever the first time. So this was an IMB. So I had to go through like all the state licensing process, and I knew absolutely nothing about mortgage. So I don't even know how long.
Learn quick.
Yeah, right. Well, exactly. So I went through that, did all the classes and stuff like that, and ended up taking the tests and finally got like through all that stuff and started there. So I was there I think I was only there for about 1 year. My wife ended up getting a job other side of the state over here, like Grand Rapids area. I was like, I was not thrilled about it at the time. I was like, I'm making headway. I'm starting to close some loans, and I was probably closing like 1 or 2 loans a month, like thinking I was really getting into it, like taking off. So
Got to start somewhere, right?
yeah, I was like, all right, let's go to over here and do this. We ended up making the move, and I got a job with a different IMB over here. At the time, my IMB over there that I was working for didn't have a branch or office or anything over here on the west side of the state. So I ended up getting a job there and was there for
What company was that?
So I was at Mortgage One over on the east side of the state. So Mortgage One out of Port Huron. And then I took a job at a branch of AmeriFirst over here in Grand Rapids. And then I was there for like 1 or 2 years, really learned like a ton. Like I had some good people there that really kind of taught me how to close like higher volume and really kind of ramp myself up a little bit as an LO. So I was there for about a year or two, and I kind of decided I wanted to move somewhere else where I could have a little bit more like help with referrals and backing behind me, and maybe learn a little bit more about the whole mortgage process. I wasn't sure at the time if like I wanted to keep going, like being an LO forever. So I was like, let's kind of see what else is out there. And I ended up taking a job at Fifth Third Bank. So that was back in like 2012, 2013. I started there at Fifth Third. And I was at Fifth Third for just about 10 years. Around 20,
Hello?
I was an LO there. Yeah. Yeah. The whole time. And then around 2019 or so, I kind of started like getting a little bit of an itch to see what else was out there. So I started looking a little bit, but then obviously we hit COVID, and COVID hit, and I was like, well, I can't leave right now. Like the business is good. I don't even know what other options would even be out there for me. So I decided to stay put for a little while and kind of work my way through COVID. And then got towards the end of that. It was probably, I don't know, 2022 or so. I got the itch again to kind of see what else was out there and started looking around. I knew I was kind of done with like the business to consumer piece of it. Like I wanted to kind of move to more to a business to business role there. So I looked at some different options. Like I probably looked at like some mortgage tech companies. Like I was always trying to keep it like in the mortgage end of things. Like I knew that's where my strengths were. I knew that's kind of where I needed to stay. And then this role here at Essent ended up popping up. So I applied and here I am now 3.5 years later.
So you got into mortgage insurance after being an LO. What was that transition like?
Big, big change. So, and
Yeah.
like, like being an LO, like you kind of stay in your, like, you stay in your lane a little bit. Like you learn the things you need to learn to close loans. And it's a little bit different world. When I made the transition over here to the MI space, we talk to like everybody in all different departments at organizations, like secondary operations, origination, like you kind of run the gamut there as far as who you're talking to. So I had to learn like all those different areas to be able to have those conversations. So that was a big like hurdle for me and a big step to kind of make that jump for me because I knew origination well, but I didn't really know anything outside of that origination world when I got the start here.
There's a lot more that goes into a mortgage than just the front end sales piece of it, right?
So there's so much more that goes into it. And it's like, I mean, you talk to like somebody in secondary and it's like they're speaking like, like it's like a different language there. Like you had no idea that all that stuff was happening kind of behind the scenes there on the origination side. Like didn't understand pricing and all that stuff, like what actually went into that. I had no idea, I was clicking a button and like seeing the rates and that's what it is. I didn't understand the whole process behind it.
Yeah. And then there's packaging up pools of loans and mortgages and selling
Yeah.
them as mortgage-backed securities and all that fun stuff that
There's,
you start learning about, right?
which is crazy.
Yep. There's a whole secondary market, after the loans close that, where these mortgages are getting traded and going, sometimes they're getting to going to different servicers depending on the type of loan. So, but even in the sales origination process, once the loan officer takes the application, there's a lot of other hands that get involved, right?
Yeah,
You've got processing, underwriting, closing, all sorts of departments. So it's a big operation.
yeah, and I mean, when you're in the origination side, like you don't like obviously you understand the underwriting processing piece of it there, but your job is to keep loans coming in. So it's like you kind of get it in
Yeah.
and then you move yourself back to the start of that funnel again to keep it flowing there. And what
Yeah.
happens on the backside, you just don't have time or need necessarily to kind of figure that out.
Yeah.
That was a big hurdle for me was kind of figuring everything else that needs to happen there to be able to have conversations with my customers.
Yeah. So once you got to Essent and you got into mortgage insurance, started learning the ways, what is your main job? Like, what is your day to day like? What does a account manager for a mortgage insurance company do?
Yeah. So obviously, like day to day, like we're there kind of to sell MI. So we're there to go out. We have conversations with lenders, but really we're more like I view my position as we're more out there to help the lenders grow. Like ultimately, like that's how we show benefit to them and are able to help them is by really kind of getting down into the nuts and bolts of what drives them as a company and then helping them out. Like whether it be training, whether it be, I mean, we do a lot of underwriting processing training, we do a lot of sales training, that kind of thing. We do, I mean, a lot of introductions to investors and kind of they like to ask like what's going on in the market, what are we hearing, what are people doing? So a lot of like what I do day to day is just having those conversations and finding areas where we can help that lender kind of progress their business where they need it there. When you look at like the MI side of it, like day to day, like I mean, we don't have much control of the pricing and where all that piece of it goes. So I can only control what I can control, and that's helping people out as best I can, really. So day to day, that's generally what it looks like. I cover all of Michigan. So it's a little bit of territory to cover there. Obviously, like it's a lot of time in the car and, and that kind of thing, but
Yeah.
it's fun.
So the industry, well, I shouldn't say the industry. Most of us who've been in it long enough know, but I would say customers and borrowers from their standpoint don't like private mortgage insurance. They hear PMI and they run, right? Or mortgage insurance, MI. That's such a misconception, right? Because it can be utilized and it's a lot cheaper nowadays than I think what people, used to think or whatnot. So
Yeah.
tell me why mortgage insurance is important and why people shouldn't just automatically put 20% down in every
Yeah.
situation or
Well,
think that they
yeah, I
have.
mean, that's the biggest thing that we do right there is we help people get into homes for less than 20%. Like when you look at if you go on our website, we have a tool. It's called Essent IQ, and it basically lets you kind of punch in factors of what's going into the market, what's going on in the market right now, and it really shows you that kind of savings you get from purchasing a home now with MI versus waiting until you hit that 20% down, and it's staggering. I mean, there's rarely a case I think where it doesn't make sense to wait on buying a home. I mean, you see that
Yeah.
what do you get built? So the sooner you can buy, regardless if you're paying MI or not, is usually an advantage to the borrower there. Sometimes you time it and get lucky and maybe something swings in the market there, but most of the time buying sooner rather than later makes more sense.
Yeah. I agree 100% right there. It's time in the market, not timing the market. The longer you're a homeowner, the more appreciation you have and the more you pay that mortgage down for
Yeah,
sure.
for sure. Yep,
And mortgage insurance is a huge piece because it used to be that you had to have 20% down to get a home, and that just wasn't feasible for a lot of people. So, mortgage insurance is a huge helpful piece to the mortgage puzzle.
it is. Yeah. And obviously it's scenario by scenario when it comes to pricing, but you're absolutely right. The pricing is gone. Like if you look at where it was 15, 20 years ago, risk-based pricing and all that stuff has kind of changed things dramatically there on how much it actually costs to get into a home with them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty neat, and it's cool to see that those premiums, have come down and made it easier, and more affordable for those people who have less down to have a decent monthly payment. So
Absolutely.
we love you guys, we appreciate all that you do, not just from helping our borrowers, but also for the industry. I think the mortgage insurance companies are, you know, they're the one footing the bill for a lot of these trainings and all that kind of stuff, which kind of leads me into our next topic here of the MMLA, right? This is why we're together and talking about this. But you decided to get involved with the Michigan Mortgage Lenders Association, or MMLA.
Yep.
How long ago and why?
Yeah. So I started first thing I did probably when I started in my role here is get involved in the MMLA. I think one of my biggest regrets, like looking back though, is not kind of doing what you're doing and getting involved when I was in LO.
Yeah,
So like the people you meet, the introductions, the knowledge you gain, the training, all that stuff. I don't think I was aware of it before.
yeah,
And now, like, I jumped in and it's like, it's been a huge olive branch for me in my career. Like, I mean, you get to meet so many people, part of the training, and I'm sure we'll touch on a little bit like the future leaders stuff and then all the MBA organization there with like the AMP and CMB and all that stuff. The training and knowledge you gain from that stuff has been just an unbelievable help, like for my career. But I started in the MLA probably, I think it was 3.5 years ago here when I started, and I remember the fear, like, going to my first event, like, you don't know anybody, like, you just kinda walk in. I think
yeah.
I went to, like, I think it was one of the installation awards, and everybody was dressed like 80s or 90s theme or something like that, and, like, I don't think I
Perfect one to start. Perfect one to
yeah.
start, right?
Everybody's dressed up, and I'm like, "Wait, do I have to dress up for this?" Like, I didn't know, like, there's a lot of fear, like, coming into that, but I think once you get in there and you realize, like, how welcoming everybody is,
Yeah.
it's a great organization there, and there's nothing to be afraid of taking that plunge, but I understand people's fear when it comes to it's like any organization like that. Like you're always afraid of the unknown and it's
I think some of it is we have this group of people, and a lot of us have been now involved for a long time. So I think a lot of people think like they're an outsider, but man, I can't tell you how welcoming, like you said, everyone at the MMLA is, right? We have people dedicated just to making sure that new members are, we say hi to them and we take them around at events and stuff like that and introduce them to people. It really is a great organization for loan officers and people in the industry to kind of spread their wings and learn about the industry, but also get involved with the players in the industry. I mean, being able to have communication with someone at a mortgage insurance company where if I have an issue, Aaron, I can call you, right? Any day and be like, "Hey, let's troubleshoot this. What can we do?" And people don't realize how far that goes. I mean, like these are true problems that we have to walk through and figure out, and having those connections through the MMLA is
yeah,
it's unheard of.
Yeah. And I think people have a fear, obviously, of like you're around like your competitors and all that stuff. But like, you know how it is. Like everybody gets
Yeah.
along, everybody talks, everybody learns from each other. There's a lot of business to go around, and there's nothing wrong with talking to your competitors and kind of helping everybody level up a little.
I mean, you know, your competitors are going to do loans whether or not you want them to or not. Wouldn't you rather have them doing loans the right way for borrowers than the opposite? You know, like we're all at the end of the day, I think most of us are, you know, from a large view are trying to help more people get into homes or refinance their homes or do something with home ownership, right? So the more that we can educate each other and, you know, collaborate, the better that our industry is, the better our borrowers are. So yeah, I think it's been a very useful collaborative tool, regardless of what company you work for,
Yep.
you know?
Yep. I talk to my other account managers in like different regions and stuff who have like other state organizations. And when I talk about the MMLA, like a lot of them are jealous of like what we have here. Like it really is like levels above like what you see in other places with attendance and events and all that kind of stuff we do there that goes into it.
You know, and that's so true, but it's made that way because we have a lot of really great people that show up and give their time and energy, you know?
Mhm.
We have a great group of people.
You
So,
do for sure.
anybody who's out there, if you're thinking about it, you should join the MMLA. I promise you, you won't regret it. We'd love to have you. So, speaking of, you know, involvement in the MMLA, we both have been part of the Future Leaders program, which is loosely associated with the MBA's Future Leaders program, which I'm going to be going through this year.
Nice.
Um, yep. So I'm excited for that. But let's talk about the MMLA Future Leaders program. You did it, was it last year or 2 years ago?
Yep. Last year.
Last
Yep.
year. Okay. And I did it 3 years ago. Your group won, right?
We did. Yeah.
So you're a winner. I'm a past winner as well.
Oh, so you won too?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I
Yep.
didn't know that.
So oh, yeah. But let's talk about that. What did you learn? What like, why should someone get involved in a program like that, and why is it so important that the MMLA promotes something like
Yeah.
this?
Yeah. So the reason I like it goes back to kind of what I talked about when I jumped into this role that I'm like, I don't know anything about these other departments. I need to learn about them. Where can I get that knowledge at? So the future leaders is something I had probably heard about since like day one there when I joined the MMLA. What really kind of pushed me to it last year was that was the first year we did it in person. So we spent one I'm trying to think how we broke it down there. It was an overnight, and I think we did 2 days of learning for it. So people from different various backgrounds and departments would basically come in and talk for about an hour, hour and a half about what they do, about their careers, all that stuff. And then at the end of that, we would team up with, it was probably similar to what you guys did online there, but you'd get in another team of two or three other people and you would start that project basically where you were kind of set off on your own to run your own company, whether it's a mortgage company or a vendor or whatever it is there. So, and then I think we got together 4 weeks later, and then you present that like how your company works, what you guys do, how you're going to make money, what's unique about your company, all that stuff. And you present that in front of past future leaders, winners, and then all the other teams there basically. And then we've got a group of judges there that decides who's got the best, most functional running company, I guess, and then selects a winner there. So it's a great way to gain knowledge of the entire mortgage process. So you kind of learn everything from beginning to end, like you said, all the way up through servicing there through that. And when you're selecting your company you want to run, it can be any one of those various parts of that. So it's a great thing. It pushes you a little bit to be creative, I would say, because you're given this task and you're kind of on your own there to select what you want to actually come up with.
Right. So, you know, it's a collection of, you know, different people for the Future Leaders program. Who are your teammates and what were their roles?
Yeah. So I had Jen from LMCU and then Selena Munez, who is with DFCU. So Jen was in
What roles?
origination. So she
Okay.
was in origination. And then Selena had some pieces of like their construction department, QC department, some other areas there. So that's kind of like when we sat down first, we were like, all right, what are our strengths? What does everybody have some kind of knowledge on? And we kind of based our whole project around that. We ended up being, it was called Builder Vault. And we were basically almost like a condo tech, but for like the builder approval process there. So instead of having like the lender to handle like all their builder approval, getting all the documentation and stuff like that, our company basically did that.
Can I hire it?
Yeah, Selena had the background there on like the builder side, Jen obviously the origination side, and then I kind of at this point had enough knowledge there to kind of work my way through the rest of it. So that's kind of what we landed on there.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on the big win. It's pretty cool. So it's a fun project. It's a fun thing to get involved with. I know I think fondly of it, and just getting to know more about, yeah, the different aspects, operations, underwriting, processing, and then, yeah, the secondary piece of it, pricing the mortgage, and then
Mhm.
selling it on the back end and all that goes into that. There's really so much to learn about this industry. And I think the more that people learn, the better they become in whatever role it is, right? Like you
Absolutely.
need to learn about origination if you're in underwriting and processing, and knowing more about how that works helps you become a better underwriter or
Yeah.
processor and understand why an LO did something a certain way or why it was communicated a certain way. So it is a huge piece of, you know, putting things together for people. And there's a lot of, I think for me, there was a lot of aha moments, where you're just like, oh, okay, that makes sense why this is that way or whatever. I never understood it before, but this program really helps with, filling in those question marks, I think.
Yeah. I think it's great to help just with like your internal conversations you're having with other people you work with. Like you said, to be able to kind of understand what that other department is going through is important just just when you're talking to others there that you work with. You know, kind of when the origination side, you're always, why can't we just do this? And then they'll kind of
Yeah.
come back and explain it. Well, this is why. And you're like, all right, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
Going through this kind of puts you ahead a little bit in that conversation and helps you understand that what they're actually going through, the why
Yeah.
of everything.
You can explain things to your customers or, a little bit better too when they
Mhm.
question certain things, because you have a deeper understanding of how things actually work.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, understanding like that, like when you're sitting there talking rates and stuff with the customer at the beginning of the process, which is where the conversation almost always goes, having that understanding of secondary gives you a huge advantage, I think, over the other competition there when you're discussing that, because you can actually bring real knowledge as to why the pricing is. You can understand what others' pricing might look like, and it just gives you a leg up, I think, over the competition there for sure.
Yeah. I'll say like one of the early things in my career was in someone who pushed me to get into the mortgage industry. My friend John Collins, he was in secondary at LMCU, and he kept telling me that I should get into mortgages. And having a friend in pricing who could teach me about that stuff,
Yeah. Right,
invaluable knowledge, right? Like I started learning things that I shouldn't have learned at a very early stage of my career, right? Maybe not necessarily understanding it fully, but
right.
having a best friend that could teach me some of that stuff definitely gave me a leg up. So I think it's important for people to learn about all the different aspects and not just be like, oh, well, I'm a loan officer. I just, I need to focus on
Yep,
just sales or whatever. It's huge.
yep. Have are you going through, you're doing your AMP. Have you finished that yet, or?
So I got my AMP last year, all three schools of mortgage banking. You're an accredited mortgage professional as well,
So
right?
I've only done 1 and 2 so
Okay.
far.
Okay.
I still have to find time to slot 3 in there.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, that's kind of even like a deeper dive into all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's kind of what drove me into the future, because I did the 1 and 2 before I even did the future leaders. And I was kind of like, I came into it, I was like, I can get a little bit of a refresher with this, even like going through
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
When you kind of do like 2 there, basically, it's like you're drinking out of like a fire hose almost there with the information that's coming out of like the secondary piece of it. And like,
Yeah.
it's harder to retain it a little bit. So I thought future leaders was kind of a good, just refresher of all that stuff that I learned through that.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll enjoy it. Three's great. Hopefully, you can get that done this year, and schedule it in.
That's the goal. I know. Yeah. Are you going all the way for your CMB, or you?
Eventually.
Yeah. Right.
like I said earlier, I'm doing future leaders this year, and then I'll probably look at, trying to earn my CMB
Right.
eventually. So,
Right.
yeah, it's one of those things where, I truly believe in continually learning. So that's just kind of the next step in evolving and becoming a better loan officer, getting
There's
my CMB.
always something you can pick up from that stuff that you didn't know before, for sure.
And the networking piece, that there's a lot of that people just don't really understand. But when you go to these classes and these programs, you're meeting people from all over, with the MBA, it's all over the country. MMLA, it's all over the state. But the amount of connections and people that I've met that I could call on, or, send an email over to with an issue, or, maybe they can help me do something that my company can't do.
Yep.
It's just, you can't replace it,
Yeah,
for sure.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So, what do you guys got going on? There's a lot of changes going on in this industry right now, Aaron. Is anything changing in the PMI world, or what do you guys have going on right now?
Yeah, I mean, our biggest thing that we're doing is, and you probably hear the risk-based pricing piece of it. So we do like to go a little bit deeper, I think, with our risk-based pricing and how we kind of take a look at everything. So we do, when you guys quote us there and you don't even know that it's happening, basically, is we do a soft credit pull at that time of quote. And with that soft credit pull, we can kind of take a little bit deeper dive into what's going on with that borrower's credit profile, and we can price them that way. I mean, we're not like, just because you've got a 700 doesn't mean we're going to price you like a 700 credit score there. We may see something that we like a little bit more with that credit that we feel you can be priced up to a little bit better there. So I think that's the biggest thing that's going on for us in the MI side of it. I kind of hit a little bit on a lot of the training stuff. We do a ton of that stuff right now. We do a lot of custom training there, where if we find a lender is struggling with something, we can bring in one of our trainers and kind of work through that a little bit with like an in-person or online, whatever training they kind of need. So we're doing a lot of that stuff right now. Our trainers are actual underwriters. So I think that's something that's a little bit unique, in that they have that experience there to understand really what's going on and
Yeah,
handle those deeper questions there that you guys might have. I mean, a lot of the stuff that you have is unique and it's not always basic there. So I think that's a big advantage there.
for sure. Love it. Well, enough about business for
Right.
now. Let's talk about your personal life, Aaron. Let us in. Who's the real Aaron Waterbury,
Right.
and are you involved in the Waterbury Open?
I am not
That's the
involved.
main.
What?
That's
Yeah,
the main question I have for you.
not the first or the second Waterbury Open. No. And I did not get any royalties or anything from that either. So
Happy Gilmore is what we're referring to. One of my all-time favorite movies, and every time I think about you, I can't help but think about the Waterbury Open.
yeah, nothing I do. So one of the things I like to do in my free time is golf. So I do play a lot of golf, but
Yeah, for sure. Me too. I attempt it. I
yeah,
lose a lot of balls.
same. Yeah, I know. Yeah. It's always a little bit streaky, but
Yeah. So what about family?
yeah. So married, I've got two kids that are 6 and 8. And then you probably can hear it in the background of this podcast somewhat, but there's a new dog over there that's about 9 months old that is terrorizing my life and taking up all my time. But in our free time, so the big thing we do in the winter is we ski. So both of my kids like ski race and I coach. So I've been helping out a lot with that. Yeah. So
That's
in
an
the winter,
interesting
like,
thing to coach.
what's that?
I said that's an interesting thing to coach.
Yeah. Well, so
Good for you.
I ski raced in high school. So that's was my winter sport there. So I got involved, like, they were looking for help, and I was like, well, I have to be at the hill anyway to like drop my kids off. Like, I might as well contribute where
Yeah,
I can. So
good
that's
for you.
pretty much what we do all winter, is spend our time on the ski hill, freezing and all that fun stuff. And then in the summertime, we transition. We've got a boat we keep over on Lake Michigan. So we spend a lot of time out there on the boat, just relaxing and trying to get the kids to tube and water ski and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. Love that. Michigan's great for that in the summertime. We have so many lakes, so you might as well take advantage of it, right?
Yeah, you gotta have something to do every season is like my goal there. So we've got skiing in the winter, and then we boat, golf, all that fun stuff. And then My kids both play soccer, and then my boy plays baseball too. So like we are just like,
On the go.
yeah, starting from like my daughter started playing soccer yesterday actually. So we got done skiing over the weekend and that kind of ended. And then we transitioned right into soccer and baseball is going to start. And then
Yep.
I think we get free again until like July for a month. And then it's right back into it really.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Keeps you busy, but as long as the kids are enjoying it,
Yeah.
it's worth it.
Yeah.
You
Absolutely.
mentioned that. Oh, yeah. Sorry. What were you
No,
gonna
go
say?
ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, you mentioned, that your wife was in radio before. Is she still in radio?
She's
And
still, yeah,
and who is she? Come on, we
she's
have to give her a shout out here.
yeah, she's Rachel Gray on the radio here, not Rachel Waterbury on air, but she's Rachel Gray for 105.3 Hot FM here in Grand Rapids. She's been
Love
there
it.
now, gosh, probably 13 years.
That's
So
awesome.
same station, she does the morning show.
It's so funny because I can't tell you how many times I've listened to her on the radio and like, until I met you and then found out, like, I think even when I met you, I didn't know that necessarily right away. And when I
Right.
found that out, I was like, whoa, that's crazy. Like you don't think about that, but it's
Yeah.
pretty cool to have an
It's
on-air
always
personality in your home.
yeah, it's tough, like when I was working, like, at the bank and stuff like that, because people you'd work with would start listening and stuff, and, like, you'd walk in and, like, they'd hear something on the radio they'd pick up about me and, like, wanna, like, bring it up and poke at me and stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It probably gets personal sometimes
It does,
on
yeah, I
air,
mean, she
huh?
has yeah, yeah, you've gotta have content, so a lot of the content, unfortunately, probably falls on me.
It's at your expense.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I love that. Hey, at least you're a good sport about it, man. You're laughing
Yeah.
about it.
Absolutely, yeah, you have to be, so she used
Yep.
to call me up and have me on the air and stuff all the time, but she doesn't do that as much anymore, thank
Seriously?
yeah,
He
yeah.
used to have you call in?
All the time she would call me and I would know, like, I'd see the phone number come in and so, like, it's early in the morning, so I'm like, "Oh, I know this is not, like, just a, 'Hey, what's up?' call, I know she wants something."
I love that, man. That's great. You guys are still together, so it's still working,
Yeah, yeah, it's still working.
Couple kids and a brand new dog. I mean, you're glutton for
It's
punishment.
like public therapy almost though with her, like, talking about that on the air, you know? It's a good thing.
There's something about, like, having things exposed and, just being okay with it, right?
Mhm.
I think it brings a sense of calm because
Yeah,
there's really nothing to,
right.
nothing is off limits or whatever.
For
So
sure,
good for
for
you,
sure.
man. You're a good sport about it.
Yeah,
So love it.
absolutely.
Well, man, it's been great. But every time I end the podcast, I always ask the people that come on and I talk to leave our listeners with something positive for the industry. So,
Yeah,
Aaron, give us your positive take or positive spin or whatever it is you want to
I
tell
like
us that
this.
enlightens us.
Yeah, so my positive spin, I think, or positive piece of advice, I guess, would be to kinda fight through the noise right now. I feel like we're always reading stuff and you're hearing about how business is slow and this is going on, and I think it's important to keep sticking to what you're doing, getting through it, building relationships, and just keep grinding away there at it, not necessarily letting that stuff hold you back from growing where you need to.
Yeah, absolutely. You heard it from Aaron. You got to just keep going and keep working at it. That's one of the most important things is don't ever quit, don't give up, right? So,
Absolutely.
Aaron, account manager with Essent Guaranty, a buddy of mine. You golf or attempt to sometimes every now and again.
Sometimes, yeah, scrambles, so it's nothing serious.
Yeah, exactly. It's been a pleasure having you, my friend. I look forward to many years of your involvement in the MMLA, continued involvement, and looking forward to seeing you earn that AMP and going for that CMB too soon.
Yeah. I appreciate you having me on. I think this is great. Hopefully we keep pushing with this and keep finding guests.
Yep. And thanks for all you listeners out there. If you know anybody that might be able to learn from what we're sharing here, please feel free to share this podcast. We'd love for our listeners to grow, but we appreciate everyone that's involved. And thanks again for sharing your time and talents with us, Aaron.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it.
See ya.
See ya.